Right now, most smartphone enthusiasts will say the same thing. The two best Android smartphones out in the market right now are the Galaxy S7 Edge by Samsung and the Nexus 6P from Google and Huawei. But which is the better smartphone? Well, that's a choice I have to leave you to decide. But in this video, I'll be going over 5 reasons why the Google Nexus 6P is better than the Galaxy S7 Edge. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the fingerprint sensor. Now on the Galaxy S7 Edge, we have a front-mounted fingerprint sensor, which works, it's fine. It probably works about 65% of the time for me, which is fine. But it's not great, especially when you compare it to the Nexus 6P, which works probably about 95% of the time. And I don't have to think about it. I just put my finger on the sensor and the phone is unlocked every time I try. On the Galaxy S7 Edge, if I put my finger on the lock, sometimes it won't work, like it just did. And then if I try again, then it works, which is fine. It's still quick, it's still accurate, but it doesn't work every time, and that can be a problem when you need to get into your phone quickly and reliably. Now, I will give credit to Samsung where it is due. The front-mounted fingerprint sensor is a lot easier to use when you have your phone lying on the table, as you don't need to pick it up in order to unlock your phone. But again, the 6P, it's very convenient when you're actually holding the phone, and it's just more reliable, so I have to give this to the Nexus. But moving on from there, let's talk about the software. Now I know what you're gonna think is that I'm gonna start talking about why stock Android is better than TouchWiz, and I'm not gonna do that because there's really no comparison. It's all a matter of personal preference. But what I can talk about is software updates. Now the Nexus 6P, it runs stock Android and it's provided directly through Google. Now that's great, and software updates are fast. You get them as soon as the new version is announced, sometimes even earlier in the case of Android N. But here's the thing, software updates don't technically matter. In terms of features, the Nexus 6P is lacking quite a lot compared to the Galaxy S7 Edge. But here's the thing, software updates do matter in terms of security. Every month, Google pushes out a security update to the Nexus 6P to patch any new bugs that are found during that month. Now, Samsung is committed to doing the same thing, but there's a problem. There's Samsung themselves who has missed a couple of these updates and been very late to others. And then there's also the skin, which they have to constantly work on. And last but not least, and probably the biggest factor, is carriers. Samsung sells their devices directly through US carriers and carriers around the world, and they tend to slow down updates tremendously. And it's a big problem when you're trying to get out a critical security update. So obviously I have to give that to the Nexus. Now next, let's talk about the speakers. Now as I noted in my Galaxy S7 Edge review, which was just published last week, you'll notice that the speaker is not only on the bottom, but due to the waterproofing on this phone, the speakers are just not as good. Even compared to last year's Galaxy S6 family, the speaker is just not as good. It lacks a lot of depth, and it's overall not a very good speaker, especially when you consider the fact that this has a large 5.5-inch display, which is great for media. Meanwhile, the Nexus 6P, with its larger 5.7-inch screen, also packs front-firing speakers, which make a massive difference in terms of audio quality. And really, there's just no comparison. If you use a Samsung phone, it's fine, you will not tell the difference. But anytime you pick up a phone with front-firing speakers, you'll never want to go back again. Next, let's talk about the port. Now in the Galaxy S7 Edge, we have a micro USB port, which is fine. It's been the standard for years. But it's being replaced slowly with the new USB-C port, which we see on the Nexus 6P. Now USB-C, while yes, it is still a young standard and it's still missing quite a lot in terms of accessory availability, it's also much more future-proof. Now to someone like me who changes their device every few months, every year, it doesn't really matter. I change my device a lot, and a lot of you do as well. But here's the thing, if you're buying a phone for 2 years, like signing a 2-year contract, you don't want to be locked into something that's going away. If you're going to be locked into something for 2 years, you want to have the latest and greatest. And even if you're going to be spending a little extra to do that, which in this case you're not, you still want to make sure you're going to have something that lasts. And last but not least, let's talk about the price. Now this is where the Nexus 6P really shines. When you have a phone that has top-of-the-line specs, a great camera, a fingerprint sensor, awesome speakers, a great screen, it's just a awesome all-around phone, you would expect to pay quite a bit for it. But the 6P starts at $499 unlocked, which is awesome, and it's compatible with any carrier. Meanwhile, you look at something like the Galaxy S7 Edge, and you're going to be spending a lot more than that. Pricing usually falls around $750, give or take, but that's a lot to drop for a phone, especially when you can get something arguably just as good, if not a little bit better, depending on your personal preferences, for a lot cheaper. So really, that's just where things come down. The 6P is a lot better value for your money. Meanwhile, the S7 Edge, you're not really gonna get the same value for what you're paying. So that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up for this comparison. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave us a comment. Let us know which one of these two phones is your favorite. Now, if you're also interested, I did a video on 5 ways the S7 Edge is better than the Nexus 6P. If you wanna see that, go ahead and click on the link down in the description. And while you're down there, be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe for more videos that are coming out soon. Also, be sure to check out our reviews of both of these phones also here on the channel, and also linked down below. As always, a huge thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.